No, not program. Today is mixed. Let's wait and watch. Hang on. Hello. Walaikum salam. Will I get the second unit tube? You mean the paper class second set of tube? Second unit is STLC. It is already you have that the blue color, orange color tube. Tudun, 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 tudun. Ah, yes, you told you did not get. I inform our staff to send you. Didn't she send you? Okay, Ilma just WhatsApp me. I'll remind. I'll just check with Husna. Why didn't she still send? Remind that new number. Drop me a reminder that number. Okay. I'll check it out. Staff. Class. Yeah, class. Then. It's in class. So they're going to just yes also. I wonder who this person is. Okay. Mm. No, you can see. They can hear you also. So you're just cover the camera. Hear you also. Move. I will start the class. Move. Move. Okay, guys, let's begin. Walaikum salam. What is Amar? Your daughter? He's asking, are you my daughter? This bugger, I think eyesight has issue. Hmm? This bugger has eyesight issue. He thinks that you're a girl. Don't have eyesight issue. Yeah. Okay, anyways, let's start. So what do you call today? We're going to start a mixed questions. I mean, we're going to start spreadsheet database. Then it will be mixture of questions. This paper is actually a school paper, as I can remember. I'm not sure exactly which school. Hmm. Okay, so just write there. I'm not exactly sure of the name of the school. I'll double check the name of the school. But yeah, just write here that the date of today's class. And hey, what are you doing here? And I'm doing class. I'm teaching. Anyways, too many imposters are there in the class today. What do you call? I'll give you a 10 minutes. Start doing this question, all of you. Once you're done, raise your hands up in Zoom. Huh? You're on the timer. Yeah. First time I see you so cool when these kids are near. That's because I'm not explaining. While I'm explaining, I need complete silence. These are schools this time paper. I think one of your school. Either you sent it or it's some of one person in your school sent it. I can't remember who. How was this time? Good, good. I'm still in that, see my eyes. From morning I've been teaching, man. At a stretch. Just try. I came from home, I prayed Asr, and I'm here back. Anyways, quickly do this question. Once done, raise your hand up in Zoom. Huh? You can go. Now, school, they didn't give the paper to home. Huh. What was the marks you got? I forgot. You said yes. All of you all make sure that you all have a separate. I mean, I will be giving you all the printed tubes for majority of you all, those who come for the class. But again, still maintain a separate writing book because most of the printed tube will have only the questions. So you have to have a separate writing book, write down the answers. For the paper class, just make sure you maintain separate writing book. Okay, just an 80-page CR book will be enough. Most of my friends told me that you're so strict, but actually, I think you're wrong. That's so cool. No, no, no. I'm actually strict. It's, I think in physical class, not physical class. In general, when I hear noise, that's where you hear my strictness coming out. The class is full chill. I'm on full chill. I'm just a mirror which reflects actions. For the students who are not attending your theory class, won't we get the dates? Okay, I'll arrange the dates for you all as well. I have not still thought about it, but I'll arrange something for you all as well. Newton's third law. When you hear noise, close your eyes. Step one. Step two, show a facial reaction. Step three, get mad. Wow, correctly decoded. Yeah, actually, I can't take a hand, take a hand. Why? I'm squeezing, man. I break your bones. I have class now. Come let's go. I Okay, so what do you call I can't hear at the same time. Hmm. Is it that? You can take one. Take one. Class. If exactly. No, no. That's not hard. Hey, it's the camera. Honestly, I'm more patient now. They're saying I have patience. Give, give to someone else, I would have done something else. You know, I'm a very strict teacher. Hi. I am. I take a pen and hit you know. So for now, six of you are done. The others who are done, raise your hands up in Zoom. Hmm? Your hands up. Huh? Will you upload this paper to the group? Yeah, after the class, I'll send it there. Yeah, that's good. What is what? This? This? The right here will come there. Okay, right it. Either way. Right it. Wait, I fix this stuff. Wait. It will move it. That will move my mouse. Wait, you know, yeah. Now we are more than talking. Why are we doing grade 10 stuff? For grade 11, you have both grade 10 and 11 stuffs. Actually, the question it comes always. Spreadsheet database is all. mostly. I mean, selection type questions. Oh, but fine. Stop it! Stop it! Stop it! You have to see the questions. I erase it. I see the questions. Stop it! Stop it! Yeah, so I probably miss it. Hey, guys, you'll have another 2 more minutes, 2.5 minutes quick. Are you in this? I think I should vacuum it some. Oh. Give. 1.5 minutes remaining. What is and it's not a her, man, it's a him. It's a boy. I wasted half of my time watching him and you think, I was not playing, man. You think I'm so chill in class? I didn't complete with zero distraction. I was just waiting because I am not teaching. If it was me teaching, I would have vacuumed like that. Not back, I would have shouted. You need to stop entertainment and start focusing on your studies, man. Who's gone? Yes. No, no, no. Message that small kid, brother. When I was saying us. Maybe Amar. That's a correct. That's a very good response. I can't read it publicly, but that's a very good response. You chased him? No, I did not chase him. He itself went. I told him that I'm going to start teaching. Just go away. Walaikum salam. We finished that program in Tute. So we're starting the other mixed questions. I'll give you the new tube, but up to now, for now, just maintain your separate writing book. I asked you to maintain, right? And then separate writing book answer it. Yusuf versus Kid equals World War 25. I only when I'm teaching any computer science. I was sick and couldn't attend the Apple Draw meeting. Who won the Apple Draw? Apple Draw was won by a grade 11.5 student from Corona place that who comes online class as well. I think her name was what was the name? Hafsa Hari Hasna Hari. Spelling start करना वक्त में. I forgot the name. Okay, let's start. Details on your course. Yeah, I publish. World War Three is going to start. Who knows? Yeah, Hamdar is around 2024. Maybe he'll come back. No, he has already people to play. Why are you so bothered about his name, man? Oh, I see. Right, tough Salam Jigar. This is new to for the third time, I'm replying the same question. I'm going to ignore it for now. Okay, let's answer this question and check your answers. Don't write any answers now. Listen to my explanation, and then while I'm doing the explanation, you can correct your answers. Do the necessary, and you can ask the relevant doubts. Okay. Consider the following. Consider the following spreadsheet segment and answer questions given below. Okay, so they are given a spreadsheet and they are given some questions here. What is the formula that should be entered inside D2? So D2 is here. They're asking, what is the formula that should be entered inside cell D2? To calculate the total income for T1. For T1. Okay, fine. Now you can see The second row contains details about T-bun that one T-bun cost 50 rupees and someone has purchased 50 T-buns. Okay. So if someone purchased 50 T-buns, then what is the income, right? Now, if you just look at the values, you can see the answer in the income we have got is 25, sorry, 2,500. And mathematically, if one T-bun is 50 rupees, right? They have mentioned unit price, right? So if one T-bun is 50 rupees, and if you're going to buy 50 T-buns, then you all know one is 50, then 50 is going to be 50 into 50, that is 2,500. Now, normally keep in mind, whenever they ask you formula kind of questions, always see if you can write the formulas first priority using cell address. Okay. When you can't write the formula using cell address, that is where you have to go and mention values. Now, for example, if you had mentioned something like, let's say, equals 50 into 50, technically that is wrong. You will not get marks. So always make sure you're writing the formulas to stick with cell address. When cell address are not, making sense, then only you have to go for direct values. Huh? That is very rare chance you'll get such questions, but yeah. Anyways, so you can write the answer there as equals. So first question, the answer you can write the equals unit price into quantity. So the unit price of a T1 is there in the B2 cell, and the number of T1s bought is there in the C2 cell. So if you multiply B2 into C2, you multiply this sales value and this sales value, you'll be getting the answer 2,500. So if you got that answer, mark it correct. Equal sum. No, this is just normal calculation. I mean, this multiplication. Sum is used for addition. For multiplication, we don't use sum. For addition, we use sum. Equals B2 into C2. Exactly. So in the correct market, if you have any questions, ask. No. We don't use sum for this. Sum is used only for addition. When will you send the tute PDF? After the class. What's this paper? It's a school paper. I can't remember the name of the school. Then I used, so mine is wrong. Mathematically, like for example, in the spreadsheet application, if you go and mention equal sum, B2 into C2, like if you type this, you will get the correct answer. Okay, but even though you get the correct answer, that's not the correct way to write the answer. So therefore, no marks. But if you go and write that same formula equal sum B2 into C2, you'll be getting 2,500 only. But that's not the correct way. Anyways, that's the answer for the first question. Then the second one. Second question is if the formula in cell D2, that is the formula which is highlighted in yellow color, is copied to other cells, what formula will be displayed in cell D6? So they're asking if you copy it to the other cells. Other cells means now you can see we are calculating the income for T1 in D2 now. And you can see below that cell, in D3 we are calculating for fish bun, D4 we are calculating for curry bun, D5 we are calculating it for jam bun, and D6 we are calculating for Kimla bun. So you can see below cells we are calculating for the respective items, right? So see, they are asking you, when you copy it to this cell, what will be the formula in this cell? Let's figure it out. Full stack, Kumar. Is this the bun shot? I think so, maybe. Looks like that. Okay, let me show you how you find the answer. Without equal is the answer wrong. Yes, without equal the answer is wrong because all the formulas, it's compulsory to start with equal symbol. Right. Normally, when you take formulas, when you copy a formula from one cell and paste it onto another cell, okay, there are some changes that happens. Before I address about the changes, before I talk about the changes, but if you put brackets after the equals it wrong, you can put no issues. Okay. So normally, same word. Normally, when you take a formula, right? Always a formula starts with equal symbol, you all know, right? Always a formula starts with equal symbol, you all know. But keeping aside about the equal symbol, within a formula can contain what you called a formula can contain numbers. You can write numbers inside a formula. A formula can contain cell addresses. Okay. A formula can contain functions. A formula can contain symbols like addition, multiplication, division. We don't call them symbols, actually, we call them as operators or as arithmetic operators. Okay. Like, for example, addition, Subtraction, multiplication, division. These are what I mean by operators, right? So if you take a formula, these are some things that a formula can contain. Apart from this, there is nothing else a formula can contain as per your syllabus. Okay. So when you take these formulas, right? When you copy a formula from one cell and when you paste this formula onto another cell, tell me what are the things that will change? Like, will the numbers change, or will cell addresses change, or will functions change, or will operators change? Exactly what are the things that will change when you copy a formula from one cell and paste that formula onto another cell? What are the things that you think do you think that will get changed? There's something. What is it? Correct. Correct. Exactly. When you copy a formula from one cell and paste it on another cell, out of them, there's this one thing that will get changed. That is the cell addresses. Okay. Numbers will not get changed. Now, for example, if I have here something like, let's say, equals 2 times 5, if I copy this from here and paste it here, here also it will be equals 2 times 5. Numbers will not change. Numbers will be there as it is. But the cell address is that cell addresses, they actually change when you copy from one cell to another cell, right? So normally this change happens relatively. Okay. What I mean by relatively is I'll show you now. Now, in this question, look at this question and tell me, the second question and tell me, we are pasting the cell into D2 cell, right? The cell that was pasted onto D6, right? The cell that was pasted on D6, we copied that formula from where? The formula that was pasted on D6 was actually copied from where? Yes, so much. Yeah, exactly. The formula that was pasted was actually copied from the D2 cell. So we copied from the D2 cell, and the formula that was copied, if you notice, it was pasted onto D6 cell. So when you want to figure out what will be the formula in the pasting cell, before you do that, there are two things you have to actually figure out. There are two things you have to figure out. So let's do that first. First of all, tell me to go from this copied cell to the pasting cell. Okay, to go from this copying cell address to the pasting cell's address. Okay, to go from the copying cell address to pasting cell address, tell me, are we jumping any columns? In terms of columns, are there any column changes? Like going right side, left side, killer? Are we jumping any columns? So how you figure out that is using the copying cell address, seeing the pasting cell address. Now in the cell address has two things. No? A cell address will have a column name and row number. So compare the column name. Normally going right and left is column name, right? So tell me, are there any column name changes? No, you can see both of them are there in the D column. So both of them are in the same column. There is no any column changes. Exactly. Okay. Look at them and tell me, are there any row changes between the copying cell address and what do you call pasting cell address? Are we jumping rows? Are we jumping from one row to another row? Normally, I don't eat in class. Rizwan told me eat and shop on some meeting. Yes, there is something that's getting pace changed. Okay, exactly. There's something that's getting changed. Okay, from row number two, we are going to row number six. To go from row number two to row number six, are we going to a cell towards up or towards down? Are we going towards up or towards down? You know, this is my lunch. This is brown, nothing else. Exactly. We are going one row down. See, the 4 rows down. From row number 2 to row number 6, we are going actually 4 rows down. So first of all, when you want to figure out the copying cell, pasting cell address change, first thing you have to do is figure out are there any what you call horizontal change. Horizontal change, are we going up or down? And then figure out are there any vertical change. Okay, always first of all you have to figure out the horizontal change. That is, are there any column name changes? Then you go and see are there any vertical change? Are there any row name that's getting changed? Once you have figured out these two things, okay, once you have figured out what you call the column name and row name change, now you can easily figure out the answer. What is Mari? 5 p.m. eating lunch. I'm not eating lunch. I will eat lunch after the class at 7 o'clock. Now, basically, I'm just eating brownie for the namesake. Anyways, to go from, we are going from D2 cell to D6 cell, you can see we are going 4 cells down. So, this I'll call this as a change. The change from the copying cell to pasting cell. I'll note this down. Okay. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply this change to every cell address, to every cell address in copied formula. So let me reference back the copied formula. The formula that was copied was equals B2 into C2 because that was the formula written in cell D2, right? The D2 has a formula equals B2 into C2. So this equals B2 into C2. I'm going to apply the change for this formula. So let me show you how you can do it. Now you can see in terms of change, there is no what you call horizontal change. Okay, there is no horizontal change. There is only vertical change. So I'm going to apply that vertical change here. Okay, we're going to apply that vertical change here. Now, in terms of applying a vertical change, again, you see, you apply vertical change for every cell address. Huh? You're going to apply this change. There is no horizontal change. There's only vertical change. So this change has to be applied for every cell address, right? First of all, let's take the B2 cell. From the B2 cell, if you apply this change, okay, which is actually going 4 cells down, right? If you apply this change, which means going 4 cells down, from B2 cell, if you go 4 cells down, what is the cell you will land into? From the B2 cell, we go 1 cell down, B3, 2 cells down, B4. Likewise, we go 4 cells down, which cell will you have? Exactly. From B2 cell, if you go 4 cells down, 1 cell down, B3, 2 cells down, B4, 3 cells down, B5, 4 cells down, B6. So if you go down, it will be B6. Similarly, from C2 cell, if you go 4 cells down, 1 cell down, C3, 2 cells down, C4, 3 cells down, C5, 4 cells down, C6. So after you apply the change, you will be able to get the formula in the pasting cell. So this will be the formula in the pasting cell. So this is one of the easiest method you can follow to figure out this copying pasting scenario. First of all, figure out how to go from the copying cell to pasting cell. So once you have figured out how to go from the copying cell to the pasting cell, second thing is you apply that change which you got into the formula. After you apply the change, the answer is going to be the formula on the pasting cell. Easy. Is that clear, all of you? If you have any questions, drop in the chat. So if you got the answer equals B6 into C6, again mark that correct. Equals B6 into C6. By the marks is first question you put 2 marks. Second question again 2 marks. There's any doubts or questions, drop them in the chat. Not those kind of questions as well. Okay, the answer is very easy actually. February 30th. What if change from column to column? Same. Now, for example, let's say I had a formula called, let's say there was a cell called A3. Let's say inside this A3 cell, I had the formula equals B7 plus D9. Okay. So let's say I copied the formula from this cell, and the formula I copied from here, let's say I pasted into um, C6 cell. Okay. So step number one, figure out how to go from the copying cell to the pasting cell. Now, if you take copying cell to the pasting cell, first of all, figure out the column change. Here has a column name changed. Yes. From A, it has become C. So from A to become C, should you go to the right side or left side? If it's right side, how many steps? Or if it's left side, how many steps? What is the change to go from A to C? No, it's not. I'll count that, Ilma. Ilma, that is Ilma. If you have wrote $B6 into C6, then there in the previous question your answer has to be $B2 into $C. No, wait. Okay, exactly. To go from the A cell to C cell, you have to go two cells towards the right. A to B1, B to C2. To go from row number 3 to row number 6, you're going 3 to 4, 4 to 5, 5 to 6. You're going three cells down. So the change here is basically going two cells towards the right and three cells down. So once you figure out the change, now you apply the change to each and every cell address. So what is the cell address we have? B7 plus D9. So from the B7 cell, if you go two cells okay, from the B7 cell, if you go what you call two cells towards right, B to C, C to D. From row number 7, if you go three cells down, 7 to 8, 8 to 9, 9 to 10. So B7 will become D10. Similarly, from D9 cell, if you go two columns towards right, D to E, E to F. And from row number 9, if you go three cells down, 9 to 10, 10 to 11, 11 to 12. Got the idea? Ilma, it's correct. Only if your first question the answer is equals $B2 into $C2. Don't we need to put brackets after the equals? No, why do you need to put brackets? We put brackets itself if you want to prioritize a specific equation. For example, if there's multiple calculations and if there's multiple calculations happening, and for example, let's say you want to overrule the Bodmer's method. Now, as per Bodmer's, you all know multiplication happens first before addition. But let's say you want to do addition first, then you put a bracket so that addition happens first. You put a bracket only if you want to overrule the Bodmer's order. Simple. Your answers depending. If you are getting the first question correct, then yes. If your first question is different, then it's wrong. This is a method to copy and paste. Yeah. It's D9. 7 to 8, 8 to 9, 9 to 10 men. From A3, if you go to C6, you're going C3 to 4, 4 to 5, 5 to 6, 3 cells down. From B7, B to 8, C7 to 8, 8, 9, and 10. It's 10, not 9. Not plus 2 men plus 3. We're going 3 cells down. No, bracket is not must. That is for functions. These are not functions, these formulas. Functions only need brackets and all those stuffs. You can't mention cell range in particular formulas. You can mention cell range only in functions. Perfect. Okay. That's for the Roman number 2. Then Roman number 3. If the total expenses are subtracted, if the total expenses are subtracted from the total income to calculate the total profit, what formula should be entered in cell D10? That is this. To calculate the total profit. So total profit they had said is equal to what do you call income minus subtracted from the total income, the total expenses. Income minus expense. That's how what do you call you can find out the profit it seems. Okay. Let's apply the same idea. In this particular spreadsheet, the income is there. The income is there in D8 and expense is there in D9. So answer is going to be D8 minus D9. Simple. 24,100 minus 24,100 minus 5,000 has technically 19,100. There's a 100 rupees difference here. The question is wrong. If the total expense are subtracted from the total income to calculate the total profit, What formula should be entered in cell D10 to calculate the total profit? I think there is a cell address issue. Again, not that's the issue in the question. So you don't have to bother about that. Okay. I think they would have asked the profit somewhere else. By mistake, they have mentioned it there. I think they wanted wait. This is D11. No, my bad. This is D11. No. The question is talking about D10, this white color empty blank cell. So then it's correct. Then fine, no issues. The value is not given, but yeah, the value was given, it's D10. Should I just pull paper? Yeah, just want to check the syllabus. Yeah, my bad. So yeah, it's equal D8 minus D9. Anyone having any questions there? Why, why? Yeah, my bad. If there's any questions, drop the chat. Huh? If you got the answer, put 2 marks there again. Next. If 10% of the total income is saved, what formula should be entered in cell D11 to calculate the savings? This is an interesting question. I'm pretty sure majority of you all messed it up. No, I had the simple one. Okay. One thing. When you're learning spreadsheet, you all learned about this one. You all learned about something called as what do you call data types? Not exactly data types, number formats in spreadsheet. I don't know if you all can remember, but you would have learned something called number formats in spreadsheet. Okay, where you can go and keep a sales value in numeric, text, date, or else you can make it accounting, currency. Mostly you would have learned this currency thing. Okay, how to get the currency symbol now. So there's a tool called number format. In number format, okay, apart from currency, there is a type of number format called percentage. There is a type of number format called percentage. So if there is a number format called percentage, he'll might answer out in a while, okay? What do you call if there is a cell of which we have specified the number format to be percentage, what will happen is if I go and type in that cell, for example, 10 divided by 100, what is the value of 10 divided by 100? First of all, tell me that. Now 10% means 10 divided by 100, right? When I divide 10 by 100, what is the actual value? Let's see how your math is. Are 10 divided by 100 mean who is your maths teacher? Sick. Exactly. 10 divided by 100 is 0.1. Okay. So what happens is inside a cell, if I go and type 0.1, right? If I go to this cell and type 0.1, it will not show 0.1. Instead, without showing 0.1, it will show 10%. If I go and type 0.1, it will show 10%. I'll show you all that practically. So I have a spreadsheet here. What is the good as a formula and equations the same. Depends on the context. What is the context I'm referring to? Okay. So I have a spreadsheet here. I'm going for a specific cell. I'm going to write here 10. I'm going to write here 10 divided by 100. I'm going to write here 0.1. I'm going to write here 0.1. Okay. So 10, 0.1, 0.1. I'm going to a cell called 0.1. That's the first cell which has 0.1. Huh? Cell E6. Huh? I'm going to a cell called E6 cell. In this, after I select the E6 cell, I'm going to go format tab, number, and I'm going to go and select percentage. Did you notice, even though I typed in that cell 0.1, when I made the cell type percentage, it's actually showing 10%. Okay. Even though I type 0.1, it's showing 10%. So technically, this percentage symbol, I did not type it. How did the percentage symbol come? Because of the number format. Is that part clear, all of you? How did the percentage come? It was not typed. It came from the number format too. Is that clear? Perfect. Okay. Laptop also. Right. Now tell me, the question had said that if 10% of the total income is saved, what formula should be in cell D11 to calculate the savings? So savings is 10% of it. Practically, how will you do? You will take the profit. From the profit, you multiply this 10%. These are usual process. Okay. But I told you a while ago that this 10% is representing not 10%. It's not representing number 10. The value of that is not 10. The value of that is actually 0.1. When you say 10%, when that percentage symbol is there, it's representing 0.1. Why? Because 10% means how much? 10 divided by 100, right? So it is not representing 10, it is representing 10 divided by 100. Therefore, when I'm writing the formula, I have to take the profit, which is there in cell D10, profit into what do you call B11. You can use absolute self-referencing. I'll come to that in a while. But before I come to absolute self-referencing, if you had mentioned equals D10 into B11, that's the answer. If you had mentioned equals D10 into B11, divide by 100 is wrong. Because why divide by 100 is wrong? The reason is because when you say 10%, we are referring 10 divided by 100. We have already divided the 10 by 100. Something like this. The value of this cell is actually 10, 0.1. I wrote D10 into $B11. If you can put absolute self-referencing as well, not compulsory in this question. Anyone having any doubts here? Hey, this question is too easy. Why have they made a question so easy? There is no any absolute self-referencing here. Equals D10 into 10 divided by 100. Wrong. I told you a while ago, whenever you're writing formulas, maximum try to use cell addresses. If you can't use cell addresses, only go for values. Even though numerically answer is correct, practically answer is wrong. Is this all your paper? Go and watch the recording of this class from the beginning, you get the answer. I put equals D10 multiplied by 5%. Why 5% when are you having any I issues? The question clearly says a 10% killer. And he's going to mention a 10%. I wrote using cell address, just curious. How using cell address you got five? What do you call 10 divided by 100? You mean what do you call? You said 10 divided by 100. 10 divided by 100 you can mention. Oh, okay. So that's the answer. If you want, you can do absolute cell referencing. I mean, you can put dollar symbol wherever you want. Wherever you put dollar symbol, it's not going to change the answer because they are not talking about compasting. So yeah, you get 2 marks there. D8 is also having total income, right? Only D8 is having total income. The question is saying 10% of the total income is saved. Technically, this is a mistake in the question. It's not 10% of the total income is saved. 10% of the total profit is saved. Your answer is valid. I mean, your doubt is valid. Did any of you, what do you call, instead of putting D10 there, did any of you put D8 there? Technically, D8 is valid because the question had made it wrong. But if you had gone through the values and seen it, you would have seen the value is 19,910. So mathematically, didn't you get that instinct? 10% of 24,100 is not, but it's valid that you made that mistake. Anyways, what do you call the question should have mentioned that as total profit. So therefore, I'll give you 3 marks if you had mentioned instead of D10, okay? Instead of D10, if you had mentioned D8, again, I'll give you the 2 marks, but do the correction and cut that 8 and make it 10. Huh? But if you have mentioned divide by 100, then 0 marks. Huh? If you had mentioned into B11, divide by 100, no marks. But if you had mentioned D8 into B11, then I give the 2 marks, but do the correction answer because the question made a mistake. No, we don't think mathematically, I guess. Not mathematically, think visually at least. Anyways, so if you had mentioned D8 into B11 without the divide by 100, only those two, then give 2 marks, but correct that 8 to 11, 8 to 10, because it has to be profit here, not income. Hmm. But the correct one is D10. It's a typing mistake. Next, write to appropriate chart types to display the above information. So as we have price and quantity and income, in a pie chart showing the price, quantity, income, all three datas are not possible. Yeah, unless you're going to show individually the unit price, quantity. What do you want to show? Right, to appropriate chart to display the above information. Above information means what are they referring to above information? This question is very stupid. The whole paper is stupid. If you're going to represent the price differentiation, or else quantity differentiation, or else income differentiation, then what do you call? You can have one column for the item name, one column for the income amount, and something like that. Like those kind of idea. If you're going bar chart, column chart, all the charts are you fine. Bar column, everything is correct. But what do they want to display here? Because when you say above information, are they referring to the income? That doesn't make sense. I'm profit. But yeah, let's say you want to individually show the price difference, individually show what do you call the quantity differentiation, and individually show the income differential. Let's say income difference. At the end of the day, the main purpose of this spreadsheet itself is to find income. The reason we created this spreadsheet itself is to find the income. So what do you call considering that part? Considering that part, what do you call? Let's mention the answers. Bar chart is suitable and column chart is suitable. Line chart is also suitable. Pie chart is not like you can mention pie chart as well. XY scatter chart is unnecessary here. Why do you need XY scatter chart here? Because if you're representing three data, right? One side you're going to mention the name of the item, or let's say price of the item, quantity. No, XY scatter chart is not suitable here. If you're thinking about the XY scatter chart, think about the axis. What do you want to have an X axis? What do you want to have the Y axis? And what do you want to have an Z axis? Z means that shapes or colors I told you. Line chart. What is that? This is line chart. In maths, you'll draw histogram. That's basically line chart. This question is proving that this paper is actually a school paper. True. Okay, let me answer your doubt which you asked a while ago. Okay, I'll tell you why. Wait. What do you call? You asked saying that I have a doubt. In the first question, they're not saying the formula is needed to copy in the other columns. But in the second question, they are mentioning that. So if you didn't put the dollar symbol for the first one, and if you put the second one, that is not affecting your answer, right? You went to a what do you called? You went to your home, and in your room, you kept your school bag. Okay, you actually have your school bag is, let's say, black color. You asked your brother to go to your room and bring your school bag and now come to the hall. When you bring the bag from the room to the hall, will the color change? Will the black color become another color? He's going to the room, taking your bag, and coming to the hall. Practically, will the color automatically change? No. In this question, clearly they have told the formula we have in D6 was a formula that was in the copied from D2. See, the cell in D2 is copied to other cells. From D2, we are copying it to here, 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 and here. So if you copy paste it, if this bugger doesn't have the dollar symbol, how can suddenly this fellow get dollar symbol? Does that make sense? Because we're copying from there and pasting here. Only if that fellow has dollar symbol, he also dollar symbol will come. If that doesn't have dollar, we also no dollar. Anyone having any other questions here? Then what are the two types of Craft right. Out of bar chart, column chart, line chart, pie chart, anything is fine. X5 doesn't make sense here. Anyways, tell me what do you call out of 10 marks, how many marks you got here? All okay, one of you asked the purpose out of all this. Out of all the charts, keep in mind pie chart is not suitable for comparing data. If you want to compare data, show variations, okay, for those things, pie chart is not suitable. But if you want to compare data or show variations, other all the charts are fine. Bar chart, column chart, line chart, XY scatter chart, all are fine to show variations or show comparisons. In terms of just if you want to represent data, just if you want to show the data visually, just for representation of data, all five charts are possible. Okay. So depending on these tools, if they say they want to see the variation or differentiations or growth, comparison, for those any charts apart from pi chart is fine. If it's representing, then all five is correct. But again, before you write your answer, just imagine and think, okay, if I'm going to write the answer, what is going to come in the x-axis? What is going to come in the y-axis? Now, in this question, x5 scatter doesn't make sense. But absolute self-defense just by writing a something like, yeah, when we get a question regarding that, I'll tell you, this question doesn't have anything about absolute. That's fine also. Hmm, good. Good. All of you have got actually almost, I think, above 7, 8, 9, 10. Some of you got 7, 6, but majority of you, I think, got around 8. I think 8 was average, if I'm not wrong. Okay, perfect. Let's go for the next question now. Let's go for this programming. Or let's go for the STLC question. I'll give you 10 minutes. Do the seventh question. Once you're done with the seventh question, raise your hands up in Zoom. If you have doubts, drop them in the chat. Oh, Sarah, this is your school paper. No, spreadsheet. Do this seventh question, STLC. After this, you go for the programming. Do this question. If you have doubts, drop in the chat. Others do this. No, but no. We do something STLC, right? Just now I finished the lesson in school. I mean, what do you call it in class? That's the easiest lesson. I will never do a seminar on STLC. It's just a 1 2 week session we will do in the class, including passport discussions. I think. And last week also I went and did a seminar on it. I mean, at school. Is this in the question book that you gave? No, man, it's a school paper we are discussing. I asked her to write down the answer in the writing book, but you called You'll be getting the papers later. Will you give recordings of the paper class? Yeah, I'll be actually posting it on the WhatsApp community. If you're not there in the community, I'll send the link in the chat. Make sure you join the community. I'll be posting the recording there. I missed the whole lesson. Small lesson, nothing is there. नहीं करना नहीं. Yes, do. I am not a school teacher. I just go to seminars and come. It's right. Nothing. I don't go to school. You think I like waking up in the early morning to go to school? No. Actually, today I'm done with the seminars. At least. Hey, by the way, what do you call? I can give you all the notes, like the programming notes, which we did a programming seminar, and I have the notes very minimalized. Like we didn't not talk everything in the lesson, just what's important only we discussed. I have the today's session's notes. I can get you on yesterday's session's note as well. That will cover the whole pseudocode flowchart. Okay, it's very, what do you call this one? I simplified as much as possible. Like this was today's session. We just talk about what do you call in flowcharts, what are the symbols used, and just an example and a question, example and a question. This is for flowchart which we did today, and Pascal which we did today. In Pascal, just the main stuffs, and then array and all those stuffs. What do you call it? In 5 pages, we covered Pascal plus flowchart. And yesterday, I think 6 pages or 8 pages we covered. No, 6 pages we covered pseudocode. I'll get the notes in YouTube. Actually, this good. What seminar? School seminar. No, I don't like to go to school seminar. I only go for one school. And if it's close by, I'll go. But let's see. Not that I don't like. I like. Depends the time. Depends the location. Why are you sending me with the answer? I'm going to discuss it. Poruma. Who's one? That was, I think, Saras. I'll share all the notes in the paper class community. Did we have class yesterday? Yesterday? Yesterday is Monday. No? What class did we have? Mondays. What was your school? That is on my school. When today I went for a seminar, I went and I was teaching. So for a school. So that was the notes I gave them. I went Wednesday. That school is what seminar was done at the school. Day before yesterday, I started studying this with the code lesson in Australia. Good job, Simran. That has everything. I studied. Ask your school to invite. System was good. Hey, how many people were there in the seminar today? Like who was there in the seminar and came for the paper class now? Let me know in the chat. See, किधर किधर By the way, you'll have 2.5, almost 3 minutes remaining. If you're done with the question, the seventh question, raise your hands up in Zoom. I can see 9 hands up. Others also hurry up. Dun, 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 dun. The school request from school. Oh, when school has a request from me. When you told only they rose their home. Yes, exactly. Until that they were in a dream world. It's over. I just open Instagram and Instagram is like hi for me. Ah, okay, I got it. I said all the answers in typed after writing the answers still have time. Exactly. I said STLC questions are like water questions. I'm still wondering why only 16 have done. What are the other remaining 40, 50 of you all doing? Like 64 here and only 16 have done. The remaining 40 of you are almost asleep in there. Get up, do the question. Write the answers. Don't wait till I discuss. Some of my friends are telling me to do that. Ah, yeah. Yes. Forcing. Yes. 38 seconds more. I did not receive the tune for programming questions and lesson 3 yet. Did you get SDLC? Hirosh? The lesson 2 tune? Good. I did not send lesson 2 tute alone, no. Lesson 2, I sent 3 tutes. You got the lesson 2 tute, you got the lesson 3 tute, and the program booklet. All three were given together for the online class. From online class, right? Or physical? Question was good also. It is good. I'm not sure about them, right? I have received two STLs. Okay, maybe that would have gone wrong. Didn't you get like a booklet with a rest, like a tute without a cover page? That is basically program booklet. How can I get the details for the theory class? Drop a number in the chat. Just message that number and I'll reply as soon as possible. These days I was a bit busy, but yeah, drop a message to that number and I'll reply. You know, just WhatsApp to that number and inform that issue. I will ask Muslim to resend the tute to you. What's up? Okay. Give two differences between manual information system and computerized information system. Easy question again. So for that, you can say in manual information system, what do you call this is less efficient. That means you can do a little amount of work in a given time period. And for computerized information system, you can mention more efficient. Efficiency is one thing you can compare about. Apart from efficiency, you can also compare accuracy. So you can say this is less accurate. You can say manual systems are less accurate. And then you can say computerized systems are more accurate. Then you can say for manual system, it's what it takes more physical space to store data. Like for example, imagine we're going to store all the data on what do you call papers. Like for example, imagine there is a like a police station, and every statement they're going to store in papers and keep. They might need a full room to store all those papers. But if you're going to store in a computer, even a pen drive and memory card can store all those thousands and millions of what do you call complaints. So this one takes less space to store data. Takes less physical space. Physical space means the space in the environment. Takes less physical space to store data. And then in terms of security as well, you can mention that computerized systems are more secure and manual systems are less secure. This is another thing you can mention. If you had mentioned any of these answers, mark it correct. Huh? Apart from that, you can say for manual system, to set up a manual system, the cost is less. And to set up a computerized system, it's costly. Less cost and it's actually costly to set up. That's another difference you can mention. So out of these, if you had mentioned any two, your answer is correct. Apart from the answers I mentioned, are there any other different answers any of you all wrote? Anyone want to check if your answer is correct? I put manual is cost effective. Yeah, correct. No, manual is cost effective, not more cost effective. Just manual is cost effective and computerized is costlier. Takes more time. That's what efficiency means. Efficiency is the time taken to do a certain task. More errors and less errors. Errors in terms of accuracy you can count. That's what accuracy is talking about. Accuracy refers to errors. So if you had mentioned accuracy and errors as two different points, then no marks. But if you did not mention accuracy and you mentioned a part about errors, then you can give a mark. 1 mark each, total 2 marks. Huh? What about storage space? Storage space is correct. You can mention computerized what do you call system. We have less physical storage space. That is the only comparison you can do. You can't mention apart from that any other comparison in terms of storage. Manual system needs less effort. No, manual needs more effort. Like for example, imagine you're in a grocery and you have what do you call a supermarket. Supermarket, they don't calculate the bill, right? When they just enter the items, like scan the barcode, they are the totally shown in the system. But manual system, they're one by one enter in a calculator. So in terms of what you call less effort, actually computerized system is less effort, not manual. So that's wrong. How about manual labor? Both the systems need manual labor. Without manual labor, you can't. There has to be user, right? If you take if you go to supermarkets as well, in the cashier, there's a person to use the computers. So both requires manual labor. Letters can be easily erased in a computerized system. What do you mean letters can be easily erased? Example of that? Okay, so out of these, if you mention any two, put 1 mark each, total 2 marks. Again, your comparison should be both the sides. You can't just tell what do you call manual systems are less efficient. Chemical, you can't stop it. You always mention manual systems are less efficient and computerized systems are more efficient. You can't just mention manual system is less accurate. You have to mention both the sides. Huh? But now you can give 1 mark each, total 2 marks. But next time, make sure if you get such question to talk both the sides. No, sir, I mean like for manual system, more labor and for computerized less. Equal labor. Labor is the amount of people who are going to work. So that you're talking about the energy required. That's what is talking about efficiency. Indirectly, you're talking about efficiency there. So if you had mentioned efficiency as 1 point and labor as 1 point, then you don't get 2 marks. Backspace option is there in the computerized system. When manual system is more efficient than computerized system. In manual system, you can tear the bill and again rewrite the bill, or you can cut it and write it. So in terms of doing corrections, very easy to do. Very easy to do. You have more freedom to do corrections on manual system. In computerized system, doing corrections are not easy. Again, due to security reasons. We can make it easy, but we have made it difficult. Like for example, if you might notice, what do you call if you go for those skills open all and you're going to return an item, or let's say they made a mistake in the system, they'll call their manager or someone like a big person who has to come and they'll scan their like card or something, and then only they will do the correction, right? But if it's a manual system, just take a pen and cut it and you can easily do it. So no, that's invalid. Not secure and secure. Not secure, less secure. I wrote that I gave you a point, less secure, more secure. That's correct. Number number. In manual, the data can be lost easily, while a computerized data will be secure. Yeah, that's again security. We're talking about security. Less secure, more secure. So that comes. That's if you have written that as a point and another point is less secure, more secure, then no marks. If you have written that as a standalone point is something else, then yes, your answer is correct. But if you have written that point and the second point, if you mention less secure, more secure, then no, because you are talking about security here. It's a school rumor. Okay. There's anything drop in the chat? Hmm. Next, write two techniques that can be used to gather information during the development of information system. Okay. Normally, developing a system, there are different ways you can identify data, so identify gather information. If you're going to talk with a client and identify the information, how do you call that as? Then have something. If you're going to talk with your client and by communicating with your client, if you're going to identify the requirements, how do you call that way of identifying requirements as? Exactly. That way you call as interviewing. Perfect. Okay. So that method you call as interviewing. Okay. So mention a interview. Next, if you're going to, let's say, go to the client's office or something and look at how they are working, and by looking at their work, if you're going to add the information, how do you call that method of identifying information as or identifying requirements as? Correct. Perfect. If you're going to go and get like look and by looking, if you're going to what do you call find out the requirements, you call that as observation. Correct. Let's say if you're going to give them a Google form or some kind of a question paper or something to answer, and based on that, if you're going to identify the requirements, you're going to give them a Google form, and after they fill using that data, if you're going to identify information, or else, for example, from the question paper, the answer will identify the requirements. Correct. That's called questionnaires, where you give a question paper or else a Google form, and from that you identify requirements. Let's say I'm going to build an attendance system. To build the attendance system, I want in your school, I don't know exactly how they take their attendance. So I'm going to go to your school and take the school's register. You have the record book, right? That students register book, right? In the class. I go and take every class register and I'm just going through and seeing what are the things they include. So me going and collecting that register and using that register, if I'm going to identify, okay, in the attendance system, what are the things that has to be there? I get the idea by taking that specific register. So how do you call that process as? The student register, whatever. I'll explain that in the next exam, Rastam. Hey, what is prototyping here? When you're going to go and collect a document, the register is actually a document. So what do you call it? That's going to be sample document collection. Sample document collection. Let's say to identify the requirements, let's say I want to build a chat system. Okay. So because I want to build a chat system, what I'm going to do is I'm going to like go through WhatsApp and using WhatsApp as like a Baliad or like using WhatsApp as an example, I'm going to identify the requirements. Or for example, let's say I go and create a demo application, not the real application which I'm going to release, but like a demo pictures or demo using images or pictures or not the real product, but just something that looks like the real product, not the exact real product, but some things that looks like the real product. I take them and using that, if I'm going to identify the requirements, we call that as like either you use a similar system. For example, if I want to create a chat application, I go and take WhatsApp as an example, or else I go to Google and I might search, okay, chat applications, how they look like, and using those images or using those references, I'm going to identify requirements. Yes, correct. Exactly. If you're going to use a similar product or a demo product or something like that and identify the requirements, that is called prototyping. In prototyping, you don't have the real product. You might either have similar applications or like just sample, like in images and just not the real working application. There's some reference which you have. You're going to look at the reference application and from that identify requirements. So these are the 5 methods we have. Out of this, if you mention two, we get 1 mark each, total 2 marks. Any two is fine. If you have any questions, drop in the chat. I put attendance. No. What is attendance, man? There is no methods of attendance. Parallel implementation is better than direct implementation for an institution. Explain it. Okay. So the main reason where parallel implementation, okay, the implementation means they're talking about deployment here. Okay. So parallel deployment is better than direct deployment. The main place where parallel deployment will be advantageous is because so that when the whole system, so that when the whole system fails, or if there was any difficulties in using the new system, or if there was, if so not when the old system fails, when the new system fails. When the new system fails, or if there was any difficulty in using the new system, then they can revert back to the old system. So this is the key reason, what do you call, where parallel is better than direct. So if there's any issues in the new system, you can go back to the old system. So if you had mentioned that in your own words, now here I mentioned, even though I wrote in here 4 5 lines, the idea is when there's issues in new system, you can go back to old system. If you had mentioned that properly in your own words, you get 1 mark, 2 marks there. Identifying the requirements and coding the solution. What do you mean? I didn't get your question. I wrote that they can have practice with both the systems. No, we don't use both the systems in parallel deployment. We use only the new system. Only when the new system has an issue, we go for the old system. Like for example, imagine you have in your purse, you have a new blue pen. You bought a blue pen. You have a new pen, and you have your old pen as well. So when you're writing notes, are you going to take both the pens and write the notes? Are you going to keep both the pens together and write the notes? No. You have a new pen. So you will start writing your notes in new pen. Suddenly, if you feel like the new pen is not writing it properly, or let's say the new pen suddenly stopped working, then only you start using the old pen. So parallel deployment, direct deployment, parallel deployment, you have the new pen, old pen both in your bag. Direct deployment, once you got the new pen, you throw the old pen. So if you throw the old pen, now you are using the new pen, suddenly let's say the pen stopped working, now you don't have a pen. So you have to say parallel deployment is better than direct deployment because if the new one fails, you can go back to the old one. In direct, you can't go back to the old one because you have thrown the old one. Make sense? We don't use both together. Only when the new one fails, you go for the think about like you have two pens. When something fails, you go for the old one. That's how parallel deployment works. And the sample is known as prototyping. No. Sample document collection is you go and collect some documents and use the documents identify requirements. Like for example, if I'm going to make attendance system, I'll go and what do you call go and check your school register. Let's say if I'm going to make accounting system, I might go and collect ledgers to identify what are the things accounting system should contain. Like if you go take a company, currently company who are using manual system, they'll record their data on like papers or books or those kind of manual substance, right? So in sample document collection, you go and for the manual system to work, whatever things they used, you go and collect that. So using those things you collected, you can identify. Now, for example, recently I got a project where I had to build a system for apartments. If you take apartments, if you are living in apartments or flats, you all might know. In these apartments and flats, they have something called as monthly, they pay like a maintenance fee. So some people they pay, some people they don't pay all those stuff. So it was like they in apartments you have this president or you have those people like there'll be like one head like a person, right? So that person had an issue. He was like he was recording everything on a what do you call ledger, where like a bill book kind of thing. where whenever someone pays, he goes and writes their name and contact details and gives them a receipt. So he's like, some people they don't pay, and it's very hard to track who and who did not pay. We got to go through all the sheets. It's like a whole complete process. So what we did to make this, we didn't still complete the system, but in the process of identifying the requirements and all those stuff, we went there and we collected this ledger. We collected this bill book. So by looking at that bill book, ledger, all those stuffs, we can identify, okay, this is how currently the work happens. And now we are in the process of converting the manual to a computer-based system. That's sample document collection. I go and collect a sample document. Okay. In sample document, mostly it's a manual systems document we're going and collecting. Okay. If you have any questions, on the chat. Next, what is integration testing? So when you take a system, you might have multiple units. So integration testing is where you put multiple units together and check if they work well together. So you can write that as an answer. You can mention there. Testing if multiple units are working together when merged. This when merged part is not important. As long as you mention testing if multiple units are working together. The word multiple units working together. If those two keywords are there, you get the 2 marks. Is there any questions on this? Testing done for several units. No. Testing done for several units is unit testing. You're going to put all units together and test. That's all integration testing. Right to advantage of waterfall model. Why waterfall model is advantage? That is the most disadvantageous fellow. No. Anyways, advantage of waterfall model, you can tell one thing. You get to see a completed product, a completely finished product, completely finished product instead of, oh wait, you get to see a completely finished product at once instead of small portions, updated frequently. So the idea of this is basically at once you get the full system instead of getting piece. So if you take iterative incremental model, in iterative incremental model, we don't get the full system at once, right? We get first of all version 1, then version 2 with more features, and version 3 with more features. So it will take time, but even though it takes time, you will be getting. So if you take iterative incremental model, even though it's quick, you don't get the full system quickly. You get partially first, and then next part, next part. So you get all three different times. But waterfall at once we are releasing the full thing. Okay, it takes time, but at once we are releasing the full thing. So that's another one advantage you can tell. You get the full product. Like for example, imagine you go for a shop, you go for a hotel, and you ordered, let's say, what do you call this barbecue portion. So normally barbecue portion, let's say they give you barbecue, they give you sauce, and let's say they give you roti. The waterfall model, what happens? When he's serving you the food, he will serve everything together. He might serve the chicken, he might serve the sauce, he might serve the roti, everything together. Iterative increment model, once the roti is done, he'll come and give you the roti. So you're just looking at the roti and what shall I do with this roti? Then after a while, he comes and give you the barbecue. Now you have the barbecue and you have the roti. Then after a while, he comes and give you the sauce. Sometimes when the sauce comes, you have finished eating also. Okay. So that's the advantage in waterfall model. You get everything at once without getting podda. I wrote a testing of collection of units. That's correct. Your examples. Yeah, I know I'm good at examples. But majority of my examples are going to be real world examples and connected to foods. That's for sure. Anyway, that's one of the advantage. Another advantage of waterfall model, you can tell less complex. There is no much advantage of waterfall, but in terms of complexity, waterfall model is less complex because you're finishing phase by phase, so it's more neat. So it's relatively less. So normally for small projects, all you go for waterfall model. Those big the project which has lots of requirements, That is why you go for iterative equal model. The small projects you go for waterfall model because it's less complex. You don't need to go back to the same step after finish. Ah, that's also correct. You don't have to go. You don't have to go means that's actually a disadvantage, but it's fine. Time spent compared to iterating. Are they asking advantage? I mean, the answer given is disadvantage. So you tell something positive. You can't say something negative here. Apart from these two, anyone wrote any other answers? Which is a positive answer. Don't give me negative. Don't give me disadvantage. The question asks advantage. So you can put 1 mark for this, 1 mark for this. But apart from these two, if you have any other answers, let me know in the chat. I'll consider it. Less time consuming. No. In terms of time consuming to complete the product, both like if the requirements are same, if the requirements are same, mostly they take equal amount of time. Again, depends on the situation, but mostly if the requirements are same, if the requirements are predefined, both will take equal amount of time. Sometimes the trade will be less, depends. This doesn't take less time. Okay, tell me out of 10 marks, how many marks are got you out of? If you have any questions, drop in the chat. Huh? But there is no any advantage. But here I wrote two advantage, less complex. Second thing is you get to see a completely finished product. I told about the barbecue example, right? If you go for a hotel, will you be satisfied if they give the full product or if they give partial product? Like imagine you go for a wedding without giving you all the food at once. They come and give you only the rice first. After 10 or 15 minutes, they come and give you one curry. Another 10 minutes, they come and give you the next curry. After another 10 minutes, they give you the next curry. By the time the third curry comes, you have finished eating also. Okay? Exactly. Good, 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 good. Okay, as it's 6 o'clock now, we'll be stopping from there. But anyone have any questions or can stay and ask others to understand everything? I can leave. We're done for the day. If you have any questions, I can stay and ask others if I'm clear. Okay, that's for the day. Dun, 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 dun. Walaikum salam. Barakallah. Bye. You're welcome. Only first two questions answered correct because others will take good from your society. I'll be again teaching this lesson only in the final seminar, I guess, or in doing questions like this. You can get the recording of this lesson if you want. That's what I'll send it to you. I have the recording. In a spreadsheet, how to write the dollar symbol? You mean how to type using the keyboard? Or you're asking where should you use dollar symbol? You're welcome. Bye bye. When writing the answer, you're asking like where to use and where not to use. Is that your question? Sure. Like how to know where to put the dollar symbol. Is that your question? So normally, copying the main purpose of absolute cell reference itself is in situations when you're copying formulas. Now I told you a while ago, when you're copying formulas, cell address change. The reason cell addresses change is because by default, the normal way of writing formulas, we call this as relative cell referencing. Normally, in a formula, if you have mentioned cell address, the normal method of mentioning cell address in a formula, we call it as relative cell referencing. So relative cell referencing only when you copy and paste, the formula changes. So when you're copying and pasting formulas, when there's a horizontal change. For example, you might notice here, I went from the column A to column C here, which is actually going right side. Now, right side and left side, we call it horizontal change. Huh? So whenever you go for the right side cell or whenever you jump into a left side cell, whenever there's a horizontal change, this affects the column name. The column name changes. Similarly, there's a vertical change. For example, you can see from row number 3 to row number 6. When you're going from row number 3 to row number 6, whether it's up or down, the vertical change. Okay, when you're jumping a vertical change, that affects normally the row number. That is why in the copying formula, B became D because there was a horizontal change. In the copying formula, so the 7, in the pasting formula, it became D. 7 became D because there was a vertical change. So always vertical change affects row, horizontal change affects column name. So technically, if there's a situation where you want to block it, you want to block the column change, or you want to stop the column from getting changed, or if you want to stop the row getting changed. If you want to stop something from getting changed, that is where absolute cell referencing is used. So absolute cell referencing is used to avoid, to block the change in a formula is copied from one cell and pasted on another cell. First of all, tell me, did you get the idea of what is the purpose of formula? Why do you need absolute cell referencing? Do you get the idea of why do you need absolute cell referencing? Copying and pasting formula, there are situations where cell address might change, and there are situations where either you want the whole cell address not to change, or at least column name not to change, or row name not to change. So as per the requirement, when you're copying and pasting, let's say column name changes, but you don't want the column name to change. If you don't want the column name to change, then you can do something called as column absolute cell reference, which means keep the column name fixed. So column absolute cell reference means in your formula, you will put the dollar symbol in front of the column name. So you would like this column absolute cell reference. If this was the formula in the copying cell, if this was a formula in the A3 cell, okay, when you paste it onto what you call C6 cell, in C6 cell, the dollar $B will be there as it is, and the remaining things will get changed as usual. Now we found out that B, the correct way it should be is D10 plus D12, no? The B doesn't change. In the pasting cell also, it doesn't become D. Instead of being D, it will still be B, because we have done here something called column absolute cell reference. This type of cell referencing we call as column absolute. So in a copy and paste the formula, you can see still B is B. The remaining stuffs have changed, but B has not changed, right? Just like column absolute cell referencing, there's something called as row absolute cell referencing as well. In row absolute cell referencing, what you do is you block the row number from changing. So for example, if I mention B$7 plus D9, okay, if that was my original formula, when I paste B$7 plus D9, if I paste that, B will become D, but 7 will not change. 7 will be there as it is. So always if you keep in mind, the dollar symbol is like a protection. Okay, so if this was a formula in A3, this will be the formula in C6, A3, C6. Always this dollar symbol is like a protection layer. It will be there in front of you, like a bodyguard. Now, always imagine there is an event or something happening, and there's like a celebrity coming. Always you might know there's bodyguards in front of the celebrity, like moving, people and going, right? So always the bodyguard will be there in front of you to protect you, right? Similarly, you can see the dollar symbol will be there in front of what it's protecting. See, in the pink color highlight, it's front of 7, right? So 7 is being protected in copying cell and pasting cell. The green color highlight, you can see it's front of the letter B. So in the copying cell and pasting cell, both have B and B as it is. It is not getting changed. Apart from these two types of cell referencing, absolute cell referencing, there's something else called column and row absolute cell referencing. So when you say column and row absolute, this is where you'll have the $B, $7. So when you copy this formula from A3 cell and paste to D7 cell, the column name also won't change. Row name also won't change for what we have done, absolute cell referencing. Okay. So this is where you have both column and row absolute cell referencing is where you have the dollar symbol for both. So in both the copying cell and pasting cell, both will have both will have the exact cell address. So you put the absolute cell referencing only when you want to stop something from getting changed. And you put it in front of what you want to get stopped. It's like acts like a protection, like a bodyguard. So if you put it in front of B, B doesn't change when it's getting pasted. If you put it in front of 7, 7 doesn't get changed when you paste it. If you put it in front of both doesn't get changed when you paste. Now, without doing absolute cell referencing, if you have done what you call relative cell referencing, see in relative cell referencing, B7 plus D9 will become D10 plus F pro. That's how the relative cell referencing works. Anyways, tell me, did you get the idea of absolute cell referencing and where to use this? You have to use absolute cell referencing only when you have a problem. What is the problem? When I copy paste a formula, cell address is changing. I don't want to change the cell address. Only if you don't want the cell address to change, put absolute cell reference. Perfect. Anyone having any other questions? Any questions, everyone? Okay. As there's no other questions, I'm in the meeting. Have a nice day. Oh, wait, I got one question. I got one question. Wait, let's check. You can actually. You can. That's fake.